Okay, finally got the parts I need to hopefully get this 914 running correctly. Just took delivery on a fuel pump and a centrifugal distributor. Let's take a look at the fuel pump. So this is from Auto Atlanta. It's a Pierberg centrifugal, I think. Got a little bit of hardware. Got the pump that came with the car, mostly out. Just need to cut the leads on it. And it looks like this one is terminals, which they did not include. So I'll have to put some terminals on those leads. Okay, for those of you that haven't seen it, this is what came with it. And I thought it was going to make it, but it didn't. So I'm just going to snip these leads off because it's toast. And it's got one crimp, but that's a soldered crimp. And there's another one underneath that tape. So I'm just going to put the terminals right on those leads. Alrighty, we got her in there. I got a clamp on the hose coming from the tank, so I need to release that, power it up, make sure there's no leaks. It's a nice fit though. It's a lot better than that other one. It's smaller, and hopefully it works a lot better. Sounds better. So with the new pump in, fuel delivery still seems a little sluggish, but I dialed it in. I mean, it's running okay. I won't be able to tell until it's under load on the road. Adjusted the carburetors a little. Also, I pulled the old distributor, and that's pretty easy. There's a retaining bracket that goes over here, and then it just pulls out. Set your engine to top dead center as best you can, and that's pretty much it. Here's the new distributor. And I put the bracket on there, so this device is what holds it from spinning. So right now I just have it on there, not super tight, but it's on there. And I'm gonna stick it in there. That position on the rotor is pretty much top dead center, so it should mate up accordingly. Bottom line, as long as I don't spin the crank, it should be in the same spot as it was on the old distributor. Now that I look at it, I think I'm going to clean up some of that sludge and stuff with a shop vac real quick. Well, yesterday afternoon was a real thrash. The distributor seemed to have worked out well, the new one. The idle settled down. This seems to run better. However, fuel delivery is still a problem, even with this new pump. Let's see if I can, right there. So you note that I've repoed it out of the front trunk underneath the fuel tank. I just wasn't given fuel delivery in the engine compartment. So I repoed it back here and just hooked up some test leads to the terminal and went right up to the battery. It's just above it. And it still doesn't seem to be delivering adequate fuel pressure. I mean, bottom line, these carbs only need 3 or 4 PSI. So, and another thing about these type of pumps is it has to be below the level of the tank, which it is back here. But that being said, I've got probably at least 6 feet of hose running to the tank. So basically what I did is I just spliced these lines together, that where the pump was, right there. So that's just a butt splice. So anyway, I mean, it meets all the criteria for where it should be mounted. I just not sure why it's not delivering, unless it's a bad pump out of the box, which it could be. So I think what I'm going to do this morning, just because I'm kind of guessing about these pressures, is I've got a gauge back here. Now this one is meant for CIS metering. I'm gonna have to look at all the fittings and stuff. Sorry about the bench. I got stuff everywhere. And let's see. PSI scale, really meant for more for fuel injection, goes up to 100 PSI. But you think if it was 3 or 4 pounds of pressure, it would register a little on this gauge. But I'm going to give that a shot. I mean, that way at least I'm not guessing. But I got to figure out all these fittings and stuff. I don't want to monkey this stuff up. I'll come up with something. So I rigged this up. I mean, you got the gauge with the hose that goes to the T. This hose coming from the fuel tank to the pump, test leads, and then goes through the T up into the engine compartment to the carburetors. I'll make sure I've got that line to the carburetors. The only thing else in line is a little fuel filter, and that's where I'm seeing the deficiency. It's just not filling that little plastic fuel filter up. All right, there's the fuel filter, and as you can see, it's only partially got fuel in it, barely. And what I've been seeing when I look at the inlet, it's just barely dribbling into the fuel filter. So it's got to be the pump. By the way, I know some of you guys may be thinking, well, what about the screen in the tank? Well, I pulled the fuel line off the tank yesterday, and it flows fine. In fact, I drained it completely and blew some compressed air in there. Now, that doesn't really clean the tank, but it'll get the screen clean for a little while at least. And also, the fuel filter is not accumulating a lot of trash. So you would think if there was a bunch of garbage in the tank, it would accumulate in the fuel filter. So I think I've eliminated that. All right, so I've energized the pump, bleeding off any air that's near the gauge, and it's not even moving the needle. Let's go up top and see what's going on. So the fuel filter has as much fuel in it as I've seen. A little bit of air trapped in there. Let's see if we can get that to go away. You think the carburetor would let some of that. Let me try starting it, see what happens. So now I'm going to try the pump that came with the car that I thought was bad. So just have vice grips kind of holding it in place because it's a lot heavier than the other one. Squeeze this off. It's not. You can hear when it pressurizes, it gets a lot quieter. I wonder if this gauge is any good. All right, we'll take a look up top and see what we got. Yeah, same thing, just dribbling. That's completely inadequate. So, pump that came with the car, no good. Pump I ordered from Automobile Atlanta, not delivering enough fuel. I don't know if it's just extremely low pressure, whatever. I did order another pump from Amazon this morning. It's just like a generic carbureted vehicle pump. It supposedly delivers 4 to 7 psi. So if it's an issue with the hosing or whatever, you think a little bit more would help, but both of these aren't doing the job. I can tell you that right now. So hopefully I'll be able to pick this up again in a couple days. I got some work coming up, and then maybe we can get this thing running right. Oh, by the way, I did set the timing whenever I put the new distributor in. I used a light and everything like that, so timing is correct. It's just I'm not getting enough fuel and it's running lean. All right, we'll pick this up again in a couple days. All right, it's day 3 of this fuel pump saga. Here's the latest version I got from Amazon. Supposed to be 4 to 7 psi, I believe. Looks like it came with a little inlet filter. I'm not too keen on those. I'd rather just have one filter, but now I'm going to have one in front of the pump and then one up in the engine compartment. So let me piece all this together. I'm going to try it first in the engine compartment down there on the firewall, see if it pushes that fuel up to the carbs with sufficient pressure. All right, see what happens here. See if I can do this with one hand. Hang on, let me just attach it. All right, it's running. It's raining like hell, so you probably can't hear it. Still doesn't show any pressure. Let me look up top. So this new pump does seem to be keeping the fuel filter filled better. It still has an air bubble in there. Perhaps that will get pulled out eventually. So I'm hopeful about that. I think I'm going to go ahead and mount that pump up front and just keep an eye on that fuel filter. I don't think my gauge reads those low pressures, but right now I think the carbs are way out of adjustment because I've been messing with them. So I can show you better over here. I just reviewed the red line instructions for these Weber 34 ICTs. Basically you set the speed screw. Let me see if I can show it. It's that screw there. You screw it in until it touches the stop plate, and then you turn it in another 1.5 turns. Okay, so that's the screw by the spring there. And then the mixture screw, you turn it in until it lightly stops turning, and then turn it back out 2 turns. Now, either one of those screws shouldn't need to be adjusted more than 1/2 turn either way. So So that's kind of where I'm at on those adjustments. I'm going to go ahead and mount this fuel pump in the front compartment. That way I'm not dealing with all these hoses dangling and stuff like that underneath. And I'm going to keep working on these carbs and see if I can get this dialed in. Okay. Test it, because that really tells the story about power and everything. So yeah, I got the pump mounted in here, stuff all them wires in there, and put the cover back on. So it's probably just a case of continuing to dial in the carburetors, find that sweet spot.